Palworld is a great game. It started as a meme, but turned into the ultimate experience everyone wanted. Peak survival crafting, and a Pokemon enough game on the PC. This is reflected in Palworld's performance. It's selling faster than some modern Pokemon games. It also ended up as the second most concurrently played game ever on Steam. Now, there's a lot of memes in the next thing I'm gonna say, but is it the Pokemon killer? And that's what people have been saying and wanting forever, because this is a hot topic in its own on how much Game Freak is lazy and Game Freak is slipping and Nintendo doesn't care enough about their audience to give the fans what they want and all of that other stuff. So there's been like a lot of attempts to make the Pokemon killer, except none of them ever had a chance to be a legitimate Pokemon killer, that it's either a ROM hack or some kind of knockoff that rips off Pokemon infinitely harder than Palworld does, or it's just a crappy cash grab and worse Pokemon game. So the idea of a Pokemon killer is just this abstract thing that everyone wants to see that's mostly some kind of Pokemon thing on PC. Palworld managed that. And thinking about Palworld as a Pokemon killer, I had some interesting realizations as to why Palworld is here to stay, and it seems like it's going to legitimately take market share from Pokemon. And one of the big things is hype. And I'm not trying to say Palworld has more hype because it's the flavor of the month game, but going into the release of Palworld, before everyone realized this is actually going to be like one of the best games ever, they did non-stop updates showing you how, like, guides about the game, all the individual pals, giving like non-stop gameplay. So those who were actually like following and really excited for Palworld were rewarded with constant updates and things to get excited about. Pokemon used to do that. The 7th generation Pokemon Sun and Moon was incredible because every week or two we were getting a new trailer, we were getting new Pokemon reveals. There was so much awesome stuff going on. And then in future generations, they just stopped that. We're lucky if we get a semi-decent trailer every month-ish before the game comes out. The Pokemon Company just stopped promoting the Pokemon games before release, so they don't give us enough to get excited about and speculate on and build hype off of. And there's really no reason behind it, because we had incredible views back in 2016 as we were getting into Pokemon Sun and Moon, where it's like, oh, what's this, a random little Pokemon drop? 2.6 million, that's it. It's just to land it. But then, like, some of the other trailers where there's multiple Pokemon reveals start off with a couple million views, but some of them ending up like 6 mil just to see the starter evolutions. And now the Pokemon Company is deliberately late to their own news updates. The DLC with Ogerpon happened in September, but now we're getting like Pokedex entries and updates in January. Even the most recent DLC happened over a month ago. Also, the news site for Pokemon was sparsely updated, and even if they like tweeted a news announcement or there was something in a trailer, it wouldn't be on the website. So anyone looking for Pokemon news wouldn't be able to find out like the most recent thing about the game, because the Pokemon Company doesn't even care about getting people excited about their games anymore. And this had to be the most egregious one, that we had to wait until over a week after Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, showing us the evolutions of the starters. Even the first evolution of the starters. And no wonder it got no views, no hype. Is sad. Meanwhile, Pocketpair is proud of their games and they want to inform people about what's going on, such as working full speed to address bugs and issues, keeping people updated with the amount of sales because they're proud of the sales that they're getting, and then also giving us the roadmap because we're in early access and we're going to go into the official launch and future updates of Palworld. The interesting thing about the Pokemon community is a culture developed around all of the like early news drops and trailers and stuff, which is why they got so many views, but then that kind of fell off and got replaced with fake leaks and just the worst community stuff, which we will talk about more in this video, which is also another reason why Pokemon is vulnerable, because Pokemon is surprisingly the worst community in gaming. So I wonder how this is going to go for the future, that it went from like the Palworld faithful really excited about seeing the updates about the game to, wait a second, if there's like a major news drop that is exclusively being delivered by Pocketpair about updates in the game, will those actually hit hundreds of thousands of views, because now people are excited for everything Palworld is. Also, flashbang warning as I transition into one of the biggest realizations as to why I think Palworld is a Pokemon killer, and that's the Pokemon designs. Pokemon designs in Generation 8 and 9, as well as Pokemon Legends Arceus, have been the worst. There's nothing memorable here. Everything is a blob getting carried by its meme name, but has like nothing memorable about it, or is just a horrific, ugly, stupid design that doesn't really feel like it belongs in Pokemon, but then the toxic Pokemon community attacks you for that. I mean, a majority of the Generation 9 decks is Abominations, and Generation 8 didn't do much better, and Pokemon Legends Arceus is just... And I think Pokemon Legends designs were so disgusting on their own that at least 100,000 Pokemon fans just quit the franchise forever because they're not even trying anymore, and all they have is hokey fan service to just kind of kill off older Pokemon designs that everyone loved. Look at how they massacred my boy. It's not fair. Now, I'm not saying that every PAL design is amazing and better than any Pokemon, but I was astonished by how much charm this game has and how much I actually adored a lot of the PALs that I was just kind of randomly encountering. Everyone knows that Quivern's just the GOAT. And speaking of Quivern, Palworld just released a trailer. Wait, the game is out, the deck is out, but they're still keeping people interested by showing off PALs in trailers. That's actually really cool. And then there's just a lot of really good PAL designs, so it's kind of weird that the thing everyone's calling a Pokemon knockoff has put a lot more care into most of their roster than anything in the last 2 generations of Pokemon. If Pocketpair keeps on making really good PAL designs and like fan service awesome characters, then that's another weakness to exploit inside of Pokemon. And Pokemon has just lowered the bar to ground level filth. It's like they deliberately made ugly designs for absolutely no reason. There is no more Pokemon charm in modern Pokemon designs, or at least very little. There's a few in Generation 8 and 9, but that's wasting most of entire generations. So the Pokemon characters have fallen off, and if you're already an old school Pokemon fan not engaging with any of this nonsense, you're a fan for life, but you're just gonna be living off of the old days and then going back and playing the older Pokemon games because they're just better. And that's opening up more room for Palworld to be the Pokemon killer because kids aren't getting into Pokemon these days. It's all Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox. And I'm not saying that Palworld is the new game for kids or anything. No, it has more older themes inside of it. And it has like this weird balance. Like, I wonder how many kids are like 13 plus are going to get into Palworld because Fortnite, it's a battle royale. You shoot people. You have guns in it. And that's like the #1 kids game right now, which is weird to think about. Now, I think Palworld is a little too edgy and difficult to get market share from Fortnite, but the main point is, like, Pokemon is not being played by kids, and that's been going on for a long time. We never saw another boom like the 90s. This is how Pokemon was trying to get kids back in 2010. Oh my god, Generation 5 was crap. And even anecdotally, before I made a career on YouTube, I was stocking shelves at Toys R Us and spinning signs for Liberty Tax, and I loved it. But the thing that made me the most depressed is that when I worked at Toys R Us, we had the smallest little section for Pokemon toys because there was no Pokemon onboarding back in like 2011, 2012. Even in the Pokemon X and Y days, it was mostly just older Pokemon fans. That Pokemon X and Y did feel like a great renaissance for Pokemon, and that's when my YouTubing Pokemon launched super hard because like, wait, everyone's loving Pokemon again, this is great. That kind of like not even slowly, that quickly fell off, had some people stay around for Omega Ruby, now Sapphire, didn't transition Generation 8, didn't transition Generation 7, and even though the merchandising and TCG is huge for Pokemon right now, it doesn't feel like as much of a cultural phenomenon, and if you talk to any kid, they're saying they're playing Fortnite or Minecraft. I have good relationships with the parents around my neighborhood, and they have a lot of kids ages like 8 to 13, and the only thing they talk about is Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, and TikTok. I talk about being a YouTuber and their eyes light up, and then I say Pokemon, and then they dole right over. I'm like, you kids don't care about Pokemon? Oh, that's depressing. Also, Minecraft just keeps on growing and has an insane amount of players as well, with a mostly younger demographic. And the point I'm trying to make is that Pokemon isn't growing off of younger generations. It's effectively just kind of keeping fans for life and picking off a little bit from each generation, where it's like, all right, get a couple fans here, get a couple fans there, and now we just have, you know, evergreen growth, which is working really well for Pokemon since it is the largest franchise in the world. And that's always been a really weird thing for me because I'm a lifelong Pokemon fan, and then I was able to achieve my childhood dream of becoming a Pokemon master and somehow spinning that into a living, so thank you all for that. But I've always been upset like how Pokemon is culturally relevant, got a huge blow up with Pokemon Go back in the day, and that brought a lot of the older fans back, but they quickly fell off. So like the capture of Pokemon is very low, and that's one of the biggest things I try to understand. Pokemon's ubiquitous, but no one's playing it. Pokemon's very dead right now, especially if you try to play competitive. You go online, it's 99% Japanese players, so it also makes me wonder, like, how much is actually, like, Japan carrying Pokemon compared to the West and inflating the numbers, because Pokemon just gets less and less relevant in the West and more toxic and hateful for online Pokemon communities. Which brings us to the drama that's been happening around Palworld, where it just kind of shows like, oh yeah, another reason why no one wants to engage with Pokemon is because the community is so awful. The community has lost more Pokemon fans than anything Game Freak or the Pokemon Company has done, because it's just nonstop nonsense, hate, toxicity, hypocrisy, and no one wants to deal with it. Same thing for like all the lies trying to take down Palworld. Palworld's been a known quantity for a very long time. The first trailer came out 2.5 years ago. There's been all kinds of other trailers, dex reveals, interviews with the devs and stuff for over half a year leading into the game's release. But then, when people realized, wait a second, this is a really good game, and it's not just meme Pokemon with guns, asset flippy, stolen content, lazy game, it's actually just a really good game, then the Pokemon community got so threatened that they were forced to lie about everything Pokemon. Oh, the AI thing? That was just a hoax. Same thing for the models, where the person that got like all of this big blow up about comparing the models, well, that's a fresh account that was made this month in January. Had no presence before whatsoever, and also ulterior motives. I'm doing this because I think it's disgusting how much Palworld glorifies animal abuse. My last 10 years in the Pokemon community have made me believe that the Pokemon community is the worst in all of gaming. Beats the FGC, League of Legends, Call of Duty, even though I didn't get super involved with Dota, from the outside, beats the Dota community. Because you will not find a more hateful and deranged community than the Pokemon community. And this Palworld drama is just a taste. They will lie about everything. They will cancel everything. They will just go into the most terminally online nonsense you wouldn't even believe. Because they cannot cope with reality. They cannot cope with any disagreement. So they must destroy everything, and they will attack everything else around it. I mean, we already hear the stories of the Palworld devs getting death threats. Yeah, death threats, par for the course in Pokemon. Par for the course in a lot of gaming communities, which is also equally disgusting, but no shortage of that in Pokemon. And I've shown for over the last decade on this channel that the Pokemon community is as bad as it gets, and that brings us to another problem, is the insane amount of cheating. Yes, every game has cheaters, but Pokemon is the only community that defends and worships their cheaters. The Pokemon Company does the least to combat cheating, at least outside of Japan, and that's like another weird thing, that the Pokemon Company International is so unbelievably corrupt that they're actually like obscuring controversy from the Pokemon Company of Japan. If Game Freak and the Pokemon Company of Japan knew how bad the problems with the Pokemon Company were in the West, it would be shut down overnight. There's also an insane amount of nepotism to where the top VGC players are allowed to cheat and not get punished because they're just friends with all of the people running the Pokemon esports scene. And hearing Pokemon esports might confuse you, like, wait, Pokemon has an esport? It does, but also because of all the cheating and all the corruption and also all of the abusive behavior from community members in the Pokemon competitive scene, it's not a legitimate esport. It will never be a legitimate esport. That's because everyone running anything in the Pokemon Company is corrupt. Cheaters have been so emboldened by the lack of action taken by the Pokemon Company International that when the tournament was hosted in Japan, there were non-stop players removed from the World Championships for cheating. So Pokemon Company Japan takes it seriously, kind of, and then the Pokemon Company International, no, they just let everyone cheat, again, because of like corruption and nepotism and stuff. But then we have stories like this guy. Got disqualified for having hatched Pokemon on the team at the World Championships, then instructs players how to cheat to dodge the hat check so they don't get disqualified like he did. He gets a lifetime ban and then appeals it down to a 1-year ban. So cheating at the World Championships and then instructing players how to cheat so they don't get caught at future events is only a 1-year ban in Pokemon. I'm not exaggerating when I say there is nothing more controversial in the Pokemon community than saying cheating is wrong. Predators like the King Nappy and Weedle Twin Needle that stalk and groom minors get less hate than people defending cheating in the Pokemon community. And it doesn't matter how much evidence you show. So this is about Wolfie VGC, Wolf Glick, just won a regional championship, previous Worlds winner. Well, he's been proven to be a career-long cheater. However, the Pokemon community will deny this, and the Pokemon Company will do nothing to punish cheating players, even though Wolfie has objectively cheated to a provable degree so much that he deserves a lifetime ban, no, they'll still prop him up and recognize him and allow him to compete in events and then also do like special features on him as well. And that's another weak point for Pokemon because there's no reason to continue playing the games after you beat the story. If you want like some competitive ambition, you want to make tens of thousands of dollars being a Pokemon master, there's no point because the cheaters are allowed to cheat. And if you're not in the in crowd, you're also just going to get harassed and abused by the competitive Pokemon community, and then it's just going to be as toxic as any other scene, even though you're trying to be a legitimate player. And also, just because players were disqualified doesn't mean that cheaters didn't go undisqualified. So the first place player, Hack Team. You can't win without cheating in Pokemon, and not enough is done. Like, if you get first place at a World Championship event, and it is discovered that you are cheating, that should be a lifetime ban. Other games do that, or at least removed for a long amount of time to undo a lot of the disadvantage, like 3-4 years or something. But I feel like, if you get caught cheating at a World Championship event, lifetime ban. The scene doesn't need you anymore. Pokemon doesn't do that. So there's no reason to play and get invested in Pokemon anymore because everything is all corrupted and bad. Now, cheating exists in every game, can't avoid it, but the devs are taking cheating seriously. They've already made announcements like that. The Pokemon Company didn't make a single announcement. It was complete silence, even though everyone knew that we had record disqualifications at the World Championships and the World Champion cheated and other cheaters were allowed to participate in the event like Wolfie VGC. But then you can see like devs that actually care. They will at least try. Like, yeah, you can't get rid of all the cheating. People are always going to hack the game, get through the hack check, make mods that bypass it. But they're trying. One of their recent updates was putting countermeasures for cheating, and it's only going to get better from there. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of other nuance about Game Freak being lazy and how the modern Pokemon games have been, but also competition being a good thing. You ask 10 different people right now, you're going to get 12 different feelings on like the current state of Pokemon stuff. I personally don't hate the state of modern Pokemon games. I dislike the Pokemon, and I can't stand the corruption in the company that's allowing cheating and ruining all the fun in the game. You get rid of those things and nothing can be a Pokemon killer, but again, Pokemon is leaving themselves vulnerable, so the discussion is valid. And also, I'm not deranged like all these weirdos that have like only bad things to say. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, really good Pokemon games. Pokemon Sword and Shield, better Pokemon games. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, incredible Pokemon games. You give me Pokemon Let's Go Johto this year as we transition into the Nintendo Switch 2, I'm playing it. I'm having a great time. If it's mostly Let's Go Heart Gold Soul Silver, the best Pokemon game ever made, will be released later this year, and then I'm just having a better time than ever in Pokemon, despite all I've said and despite my love of Palworld. Pokemon Legends Arceus, the worst Pokemon game ever made, so it just kind of shows like, yeah, there's development issues, there's design issues inside of Game Freak. Junichi Masuda kind of got put into the Pokemon retirement home, even though he was doing a lot of good for the company. So, like, also we're seeing, like, this new generation of brats and weirdos even infecting Game Freak's design, which is also why Palworld, Pocketpair, they come in and they're like, no, we're going to make the game we want. And then they don't have any limitations because they're allowed to make whatever edgy, silly game they want and put it on the PC, so they can just deliver better experiences, but also it's not hard to kind of like create the ultimate Pokemon experience as well. Like I said, just Let's Go Heart Gold Soul Silver, boom, and then you make an official battle simulator, you ban all the current top VGC players because they're proven cheaters, and then Pokemon's just better than ever and will continue to grow forever and maybe even get like better onboarding and not have to worry about other competition. But as it stands right now, a lot of hardcore Pokemon players are toxic and hate Game Freak, so you're losing them right there, even though the Nintendo Switch is objectively underpowered. So it's hard to make a really good graphical experience, but as Palworld taught us, and as Asmongold has said, gamers only care about a good game. And the sales do back up that Pokemon Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet are good games, but Nintendo has also released and made better games that are doing a lot better. Also, just other games in the sphere that are getting the younger audiences that Pokemon needs to continue that growth. And if Palworld continues to update and just ends up being a better and better game, then yeah, there's less reason for people to buy their default yearly Pokemon game because they have some decent enough attachment left to the franchise. So I think this has that Pokemon killer aspect for a lot of people. But if we're going into like some kind of third version of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or a remake game or some kind of main series spinoff, then it's harder to kind of judge the sales, and then who knows what's going to happen with like a Nintendo Switch 2. So it's going to be hard to get direct comparisons moving forward since we are like in between console generations as well as Pokemon generations and a potential shift for the Pokemon company. But I think with all these sales and all these concurrent players for Palworld, like, yeah, there's going to be a significant amount of people that don't return to Pokemon unless something incredible happens for Pokemon. I'm going to be less praising of the Pokemon Company until they just ban all the cheaters, because again, I see no reason to actually put any time into playing any of the recent Pokemon games. So like I said, there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of crazy things behind all of this, but Pokemon's been weak for a while, even with like its really good sales, and anything that's made, like anything that gives people the Pokemon experience that they've always wanted without having to get a Pokemon game, and then finds like a different kind of broader audience appeal, because like a lot of Pokemon fans, they're just done with Pokemon. They left half a decade ago. They left a long time ago, and that was also most of my core audience. I'm sad to see them go, but it's also kind of refreshing because most of the people that have left my channel, they haven't left me, they've left Pokemon. I've witnessed that on some kind of incredible amount of like at least hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm seeing subscribers that haven't commented in years. I'm seeing 10-year sub badges in the comments of my Palworld videos. They came back for Palworld, they're not coming back for Pokemon. And if that just keeps on growing and Palworld like releases into a full launch game and also has like an incredible modding scene and just does better than Pokemon from here on out, there we go. And then whatever happens for the younger audiences, yeah, Pokemon is in trouble. Yeah, saying something like Pokemon Killer is just like over dramatized language, but this is the strongest competition Pokemon has ever had. Does that mean like Game Freak and Nintendo has to step it up? Yeah, but I mean, I think with Nintendo Switch 2, that was already like a guarantee. Now we actually get to see like what happens. And also, because the Pokemon community is so toxic, I think it can go the other way. That if the Pokemon Company listens to Pokemon fans and gives us more Pokemon Legends, more garbage Pokemon designs because so many weirdos like Golden Go, and less Pokemon trailers because people didn't like that too much was spoiled for Pokemon Sun and Moon, like that's going to severely hurt Pokemon. You can't listen to the vocal minority, especially when they're as toxic, bratty, and entitled as the Pokemon community. Game Freak and Pokemon is best when they're doing their own thing, and they also haven't been doing that for a while, which is creating more cracks. But I think at the very least, there is some kind of Pokemon killer argument here, and Palworld is definitely taking permanent market share from Pokemon and Game Freak because of it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.